Hello, this is Stephanie with the Illinois JCs, and we are with Ronnie Stalter today, the PMG program manager, and she's going to go over the basics of the PMG. Go ahead.
Welcome everybody to PMG training. This is an intro to PMGs. So if you have not written one, or if you want to learn how to write them, or if you just need a little refresher, this is for you. So first off, my name is Ronnie. I'm from the Peoria chapter. Originally been on the state board last year as Region 2 director, and now I'm doing PMG project management this year. So I'm excited to be a part of the state team and lead you in this training tonight. So first off, what is a PMG and why do we even need them? PMG stands for Project Management Guide. This is used for a whole bunch of different reasons. It helps you plan a project so you can stay organized, focus on certain goals, and it also gets you a means to approve a plan for your board, by your board. So you'll write the first part of this, you'll present it to your board of your local chapter. They'll approve it based on your presentation. It also shows what funds you mean to appropriate from the chapter, kind of a budget outline. And then it also, at the end, is used for an evaluation and then a reference for future projects. So that in 4 years, if they want to pick up this project again, they have an outline of exactly how it was used and implemented the first time. So there's 3 main stages of planning a project. There is the first initial planning stage. That is where you gather all your sponsorships, any donations, get your venue, your budget together, all of that initial stuff. Implementation is when you actually hold the event. And then evaluation is at the end when you reflect back on your goals that you set at the beginning, your thank yous out to your supporting businesses and individuals, and also how did the project benefit the community? Did you make money? Did you lose money? Did you benefit certain charities in the area or programs in the area? And how did you impact not only your chapter, but your community? So it's a lot of overseeing and oversight and outlining how you ran the project and then seeing how it went. And that also can be used for future reference. So you can say, okay, we're not going to do this part again, but maybe we can do something different and that will make it a better project. So the planning, like I said, brainstorming, preliminary work, budget, logistics, all of the front end stuff to actually be able to hold the event or the training or the icebreaker or whatever it might be, because these are used across all of the areas that we do. So anything could be a project like your ID, your community, all of that. Marketing, business. Your implementation, you actually run the event. And then evaluation, again, you just reflect on your goals. A PR announcement is always a great idea at the end, especially if you did make a huge impact. And also, press releases are great at the beginning of the project too, to announce what's going to happen so that you can maybe get some press there too. So how to use a PMG. This is a lot of words for, you use the first half of the PMG to plan and the second half to reflect. So I'll walk you through one a little later and this will make more sense. So your cover page, this just has your basic contact information for who's running the project, what the project name is, the category or area of opportunity. So that's your community, business, marketing, individual development, all those kinds of things, chapter management, all that kind of stuff. Classifying projects, figure this out by finding out what the main purpose of your project is. If you are doing a community project, then at least 51% of your profits or proceeds need to go to the community. And whatever's left, so that's at least 51. It can be more, but at least 51 has to go to community for it to be considered a community project. The same for like a chapter project. At least 51% goes to the chapter, and then 49% or less goes to the community. So you have all these different areas. So business is a great one. This is where you would do any marketing for your chapter, public relations. If you threw kind of like a mixer between, or like a networking social between other areas like YPGP or your Chamber of Commerce, it would fit into the business area. So here's some other examples. They have the local development, so the EDC in your area. If you're running a haunted house, if you're running a festival, or involved with like your city or your town in any way, that would be a great business one too. Then there's community. We touched on this just a little bit a second ago, but this is anything to improve your community. So this is where the 51% of the proceeds go to the community. This is fundraising events. This is stuff going to charity, going to parks, that kind of stuff. Here's another set of examples. Individual area, this is where we are enhancing and improving our own members. So this is where things like icebreakers or paint nights or morgue tours, or there's so many different options for individual area because it's all what your members want to do. And also includes M nights, so membership nights when you all get together, game nights, whatever that might be. There's tons of stuff to do in ID. There's tons of stuff to do in community as well. So here's some of the individual area. Then you have your international. So this is if you were going to do something with like Nothing But Nets, Camp New Hope, that kind of stuff. If you were going to throw a fundraiser to end up donating it to Nothing But Nets, it would fall into the international area. Other stuff that falls into the international area / ID, kind of depends on how you're swinging it, but if you went to a Irish festival and learned about Irish heritage and ate Irish food and drank Irish drinks, that could be considered an international and or an ID. It just kind of depends on what you're learning. So this is where I'm going to switch over to an actual PMG. So hang on just a second. So this is one that I did a few years ago for an actual PMG training and membership night for the Peoria chapter. So here's your first page. This is where it has your chapter name, your project name, who is running the project. If you have like a co-chair, they can go on here, or your supervising chapter officer, who's kind of helping out on the project. So this is where you'll do, and the good thing about PMGs is they have kind of a help you write thing as you go. So they have questions and you just have to answer the questions. Some are easier to answer than others, just because it takes a little creative writing in some spots. So the first question here is your primary purpose. How does this align with the JC mission statement? How does it provide development opportunities for young people to create positive change? So is why we're doing this. So the purpose is to provide an opportunity for members to learn how to write PMGs. And there's also a networking get to know you night. So just basic, why are we doing this? We are raising funds to add a new swing set to the park who doesn't have a swing set, whatever that might be. Question 2, and this has, you'll notice multiple questions underneath it. So this is your who, what, when, where, why. So this is your kind of, if you've ever written anything journalistic, it's always the first paragraph at the top of a journal article or a newspaper article. You want as much of the event information in here as possible without going too overboard. So you have the date, you have the place, you have what it is, where it's going to be, what time, blah, 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 blah. And you can see kind of stuff in there about, you know, we're doing the membership night to welcome new members. We're going to have sandwiches, chips, and drinks for dinner to entice people to come. And then here's your, how will this benefit the individual member, chapter, or community? So this is kind of supporting what category you put it in. So if you'll notice, I put this one under membership. And it's a great way to engage new members, get them excited about running projects. So remember, this is a PMG training and an M-Night kind of in one. So we kind of had a twofold deal going here. But this is what your group is going to benefit from. What is this going to benefit your community, your chapter, and how? And then part C is your goals. So you want your goals to be SMART goals. You want them to be specific and measurable and timely and blah, 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 blah. So just make sure that you set realistic goals. So you'll see here I said involve 8 JC members. So that's current chapter members, 3 Rooster members, and then 4 prospective members. So that means people either had to bring a friend. We had to really promote it online to get people to come. That kind of stuff. So make sure these are realistic. If you only have 10 people in your chapter and you're not sure all 10 are going to show, don't put, I want to involve 12 members. That's obviously not going to work. So just make sure these goals are realistic. This is probably my favorite part because I like to go kind of crazy and do fun stuff on this one. This is your steps to implementation. So this is what your kind of checklist, what you need to do to make this happen. So you'll see you have your task activity, your start date, finish date, if it's complete or not, who's responsible, is it a critical task, yes or no. Most things on this list are going to be critical tasks. And then any problems and solutions that you may have to come up with. So for example, if you're holding an outdoor event and it rains, what's your backup plan? So this is, again, where I kind of like to have a little fun. So book Avanti's party room and menu. Here's my start date. Here's my finish date, because I did that first to start it off. Critical task, yes. Potential problem that they're not available. We'll just choose another date. Confirm with the event with Avanti's. We confirmed it closer to the date. If we don't confirmed, Avanti's doesn't know we're coming. Surprise party of a bunch of us show up at Avanti's. So that's kind of where I like to have fun, do some funny things when I'm doing a potential solution. However, I always have an actual backup plan a little later in the PMG too. So don't just do a goofy one to do a goofy one. You have to actually have a backup plan for, is it going to rain? So then gather materials, things like if we didn't have a projector, if we didn't have a computer handy, what would we do? Read it off someone's phone, pass it around like the common cold. Clearly, I wrote this well before 2020, where that was a little funnier than it is now. But you have to have some kind of backup plan. So if we didn't have a projector or a computer, we could have printed off handouts. We could have, taken the big Post-it notes that go on the wall and kind of drawn stuff out as we went. So there's all kinds of different solutions we could have had if we didn't have a projector or a computer. Luckily, we did have those. We did not actually need the projector, and there wasn't wall space for a projector anyway. So it was a good thing we had the computer and we had handouts. Invite the peeps. You got to invite people for them to come. If we didn't invite people, Barry and I were just going to retrain ourselves and gorge on the sandwiches we ordered. Then you actually have the event. The percent complete should be 100 because we did have it. The no event gets held, gets canceled, or Avanti's burns down was my potential problem, where we could do another one. We could start another event. We could move it to a different place, or we could pick a different Avanti's or a different location for it. Number 4, this is your critical contacts. This is your who is leading this project, so that if you have questions in the future, they know who to reach out to. So the main person was me, Barry was the next one, and then you can add as many as you need to. So if you have a pretty big planning committee, you can add them all in here. And I recommend doing that, especially if someone is really overseeing a committee or a subcommittee. So for example, like a beer festival, your project manager is going to be your co-chairs up here in the project manager. And then maybe you have a committee member overseeing marketing and a committee member overseeing beer and a committee member overseeing ticket sales. You want to put all those important people in there so that if we have a question about beer or ticket sales or whatever it might be, we know who to go to. So number 5, this is where we figure out what materials and supplies we're going to need. This list can be very long or like here, very short. We did not need a lot of supplies because we had a bunch of it. We had the projector. We did not have a pull-up screen. I think that was at somebody's house at that point. We had a computer and we had the cords we needed. It was already owned by myself or the chapter or Barry. And then we also needed games and activities for membership engagement, which we brought with us as well. And we printed out some little get to know you kind of deals to do as well. So here is the big scary that's actually not so scary. This is where what trips up people a lot is the budget. But really all you need to think about when you're doing your proposed budget is where your income is coming from. So did you have items donated? Did you have sponsorships come in? What other income did you have? Did you have ticket sales, raffle sales, all that kind of stuff? And remember, this is a proposed budget, so you don't know the actuals yet. This is what you're hoping comes in. So this is another place where you need to be really realistic. So if you say, we're going to sell $50,000 in raffle tickets, that may be great if it's a huge event, but if it's like a small event with only, I don't know, 10 people invited, 20 people invited, or maybe just your chapter invited, you're probably not going to make $50,000 in raffle sales. So make sure this is a realistic budget. So this is the income part, is where your money is coming from, where your income is, and it has to balance out with your expenses. So anything that comes in must go out. So if you have donated items, you have to put them down in the expenses too, to account for them coming in and out, even if it's an in-kind donation. So anything that is a material or not money is an in-kind. Services donated, whatever it might be, you have to assign a value to it for income, and it needs to be assigned a value for the expenses and the outcome too. So that will basically cancel itself out of the income and outcome of your event. Just make sure you account for that stuff. Same with the sponsorships. So if you had, let's say we had a food sponsor. So we had so-and-so come in and Avanti's decided to sponsor, and they did the $70. Okay. We put down here donated items. Avanti's donated the $70 for it for food. So then we didn't need this food expense. So you can see again, I accounted for it up at the top. I account for it down at the bottom, where it was spent. So Avanti's could have just written us a check for $70 and said, here you go, we're sponsoring your event. And we said, okay, we're going to use this $70 to get food, or we're going to use this $70 to pay for the games we're going to play. Whatever it might be, you have to account for it in the expenses. This also accounts for your appropriation from the chapter. So you ask for money at the beginning here. This is, again, the proposed budget. This is before you send it to the board. But the appropriation from the chapter is what you need to get your event kickstarted. So another good one is a beer fest again. If you need $10,000 to kickstart your beer fest, to pay for setting up ticket sales, to pay for the venue, to pay for any marketing or radio or whatever it might be, that's where your appropriation from the chapter comes in. You also have to account for that down here. So if you made money, it's going to be your return of appropriation. So let's say our beer fest made $30,000. So we asked for 10, we made 30, so you got 20,000 coming back. However, if that's going to charities, this number is going to change a little, but we'll just say it's just all coming back to the chapter. So you got 20,000 coming back to the chapter. So this is your profit line. So the other important thing is this number up here, the total income and the total expenses need to match. Down in the other budget, we'll go over this again in a little bit. The expenses and the income always need to match. You should account for every dollar you have. All right, so this question 7 is the end of your preliminary PMG. So 7 is the potential problem is solution again. This is where, you can be a little goofy, like if no one shows up, we eat all the sandwiches by ourselves. But real things like if Avanti's has to cancel for whatever reason, we have to find a new venue. If the projector doesn't work, we read off the laptop screen and we use handouts. So anything that could be a potential problem, if you have an outdoor event and the rain comes, what are you going to do? Do you have an indoor space backup? Are you going to cancel it? Are you going to delay it? And then how you're going to get that kind of communication out. So really you need to think about any actual potential problems and solutions and make sure they're in here so you have a backup plan. So this is where you would present to your board and they're going to say, yeah, sure, we'll give you $10,000 to start Beer Fest. Okay, great. Then you can actually implement. So this is where you have your committee going, you're buying stuff, you're selling tickets, you're doing whatever you're going to do. You hold the actual event and then you get to do the wrap up. So the evaluation is the next part after you implement the event. So question 8, solutions and recommendations for future projects. Really, what went well, what did not go well, what you wish you had done, what you think you may have missed out on, stuff like that. So for this PMG training in M-Night, we probably needed better communication of the event. And you'll see why in just a second. We need to hold more during the year so we have more people coming to them and more people engaged in the chapter. Find a different venue just to keep it interesting. There was nothing wrong with Avanti's. They did a great job of hosting us. Get better equipment. Apparently the projector did not work correctly, so we did have to use those handouts, and we did not have the screen. And then again, we planned for 15 to 20. Only 3 attended. So that was me, Barry, and another member had attended. So we had lots of leftovers. So that's again where you need to set those realistic goals. I think at this point I was coming back from a trip overseas. So that was kind of difficult to organize when I was gone. So then you have your results. These are your goals that you had in the first half and what actually happened. So you can just copy and paste these down here and then put the result in. So involve AJC's member. Did not involve 8, only involved 3. So we missed that goal. Did not have any roosters, so we missed that goal. And we did not have any prospective members, and so we missed that goal. Hopefully yours will turn out better than this one did. But again, realistic goals. If I had set this maybe at 3, then we would have met it. If I had not overcompensated and thinking 8 people would show up, hey, maybe it would have been a pleasant surprise if 6 people had showed up if I had only put 3. Who knows? Then you have your project summary. Was it beneficial? What happened? Was it successful? Was it not successful? While the event was beneficial to the 1 new member who attended, it was not successful in the attempt to welcome all of our new members or train multiple people. So that 1 new member, Jill, who showed up, she got a whole bunch of, very intense and very, targeted attention because it was just me and another chapter member and our new member. So we really got to know each other really well. And we didn't just talk about, PMGs and the JCs all night. We talked about life and all kinds of different stuff. So, it was successful in getting to know our one new member, and she was able to stay on for a while with us until she aged out. Not successful in our attempt to welcome all of our new members because all of our new members could not make it. So what is successful, what was not. The benefit of it. So this is where you have your individual, your chapter, or your community impact. How did it impact your individual members? How was the chapter impacted? Was it negative or positive? Did you make money or lose money? Did you impact your members well? And then did you have any impact on the community? Were you able to get that swing set? Were you able to raise money for a charity? How did it go? So for this one, we didn't have a community impact just because we didn't get those new members, but we did impact our new member, Jill. And we did have a chapter impact where we were able to train a member. We were able to retain our member for longer, but it would have been better to involve more people. This is also where you add any appendices if you have your final financial statement. I have done ones where I do the financial statement and the budget on a different spreadsheet. So where I would have done it on like Excel instead of on this. That just depends and it's up to you. Just make sure if you do a budget outside of the PMG, you need to attach it and make sure that it gets put with the PMG so that when we go to evaluate them and send them up to awards, it is involved and it does connect with it. So we're not missing a piece. So here is where you compare your proposed budget to your actual outcome. So we got appropriation from the chapter. We got $70 for this event. Again, we were planning for the 15 to 20. We only had 3, but we did have to tell the venue ahead of time about how many people we were going to have. So we did spend the 56.51. That's good. We came in under budget. We expensed all the food. So we had our income and how we used it and what we used it on: food, sandwiches, chips, and drinks. Our proposed was 70, our actual is 56.51. And then this total expenses matches our total income. This is a very simple budget. If you have a more complicated budget, it may be a little different for you. Again, that's where if you use a different like Excel or whatever it might be, that might be a better option for you. So just to run through a different budget here, and I'm hoping this is the one I have the budget put in on. Here it is. Okay. So this is my proposed budget for, this is the Das Beer Run. It's a 5K held in Peoria. We do it in conjunction with the German American Society and the Peoria Park District. So it's a kind of a 3 groups that put it on together. The JCs run it, but we split the profits with the German American Society. So my proposed budget, we got a sponsored glass steins. We were hoping for $150 to sponsor the glass steins and $200 to sponsor the awards. We were expecting $30 for race fees, and we were expecting $12,000 in that and $1,000 in donations. And we did submit this one to the Illinois JCs Foundation. They were able to appropriate the 900 for us, and we put in 100 from the JC's chapter for that. So our total income, we proposed $13,350. Our proposed expenses were Gatorade and water, food for the runners, that would be like bananas, fruit, granola bars, that kind of stuff. Other expenses were steins. We did have to order steins that year. That was kind of their, instead of a t-shirt, they get a beer stein. We did promote it on Striders, which is a local running club. The chip timing for it, our PayPal expense, donation to the actual charity that we had, and then our gross profits right here. And then we had the 10% fee for the JC Foundation, 50-50 profit sharing with the German American Society and Peoria Park District. Return to chapter would have been this, and then again, 13,350. So it matches my income. And I did not put the final budget on this one. I think I opened the wrong one. But if you have any questions on the budget, we're going to be doing a training in April on budgets. So we'll get into that more. Now we can skip all the way down here. Let's go over SMART goals one more time while we're here. So specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. They have to have a time frame. So poor examples of goals. These are great poor examples of goals. You don't want to just say, we want to achieve some press. Okay, well, how much? Do you want to involve 2 or 3 news stations? Do you want to get on 2 or 3 radio shows? Do you want to impact a certain number of people? And if you purchase radio shows, sometimes they'll give you radio spots. Sometimes they'll give you their demographics, and they should be telling you, how many impacts you have, how many times your commercial is running, that kind of stuff. Raise some money for the Arthritis Foundation. Well, how much do you want to gain? Why the Arthritis Foundation, that kind of stuff. So really, these need to be a lot more specific, a lot more measurable than these overarching kind of very vague goals. Better examples, JCPR and our 4 different area media outlets. So that's involving your news stations, your radio, your newspaper, whatever it might be. But you can say, okay, we hit 4, or maybe we got 6, or maybe we didn't get any. So it's measurable. Same thing with the raise $1,200 for the Arthritis Foundation. That's a measurable goal. You can say we did or did not hit that. Involve 20 JCs, recruit 2 JCs, same thing. I'm going to click through some of these because we went through all of this already. So back to the budget. Let's go over this one more time. So income, appropriation from chapter, value of donated items, cash sold. You have to account for everything down here. Income and expenses must balance, and nothing should be all zeros unless it's truly a free event, which I don't know if there's such thing as a free event. Maybe there is. Maybe someone's figured out how to do that. But if we're throwing it, there's some money going into it somehow. Just gonna click through a couple more things here. Oops, I guess we're at the end. I'm good there. Okay. Is there any questions as we've gone through? Any thoughts? Anything like that?
I just wanted to say, as I'm sure you're experiencing as someone who's reading several of these, and I have as being a former project manager for PMGs, that the lighthearted things when you're writing it can be really great to read. And the pictures at the end are really fun to look at. And they just kind of make it nicer when you're reading so many of these. Like you mentioned that you would gorge on the sandwiches if nobody showed up, little things like that, kind of to make you smile and laugh, are always nice to read.
Yeah, those are always great additions, and pictures, you're right, are always fun to see. I would say the more pictures, the better, but then the file gets too big. However, put those pictures in that really show your impact. If you have pictures of you presenting the check to the charity, or if you have pictures of your chapter engaging with the people of the charity, those are great things. Or, dogs are always great pictures to have too. So really showing the impact of your thing instead of just, oh, look, we took 20 selfies together, would be a good impact for the pictures. And like you said, it has to be fun. Writing these isn't always fun. It should be, right? If we're really involved and we really like what we're doing and we're passionate about the project we're running. But throwing in those little fun quips is always a little extra fun, especially on the other end when the board is reading these and when they're up for awards too. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Just one other tip on when trying to figure out what category your project may fall into, along with your kind of mission statement for your project. If I always, as a chapter president, utilized the chapter plan that's available on the state site too, because it breaks everything down for you at the very beginning of it. And so I thought that was really useful when I was writing PMGs and trying to determine what kind of categories they fell into.
That's a good point, because making sure it's in the right category is making sure it's up for the right award, making sure you're writing it for the right reason, and then for future reference, making sure it's for the right reason again, and they're not doing it for, thinking they're doing it for an ID project, but it's actually a community project or whatever it might be. One thing I also wanted to add is the appendices. We kind of skimmed over that just a little bit. Add anything else that you had. So press releases, the pictures, any media coverage, like even if you say Channel 9 News came down on such and such a day and interviewed such and such a person, and here's the link to the video. Just make sure that kind of stuff is in there again, so you know in the future what you've done in the past. So appendices and extra stuff at the end is always a good idea. That about writes it up for PMG training. If no one else has any other questions or comments, I think we are good. And feel free to email me or Facebook me if you need any other advice on him.
Thank you, Ronnie. And like Ronnie said, we will have a budget-specific PMG training in early April. Thank you very much. Have a good night.